up, guys? We're at my shop today, Adventure Bound Off-Road. We're going to be working on the chassis for the 4600 Ultra 4 Race LJ. So we're going to get started on that today and hopefully knock out a bunch of the work on the chassis.
Alright, so what we started with was a 2004 Jeep LJ, and it was totaled. The frame right here, so right about here, so right about there, was bent in about halfway. So the whole front of this frame was bent like this. So I had a 2004 TJ. It was a Jeep that I had in high school. I loved it. I had decided that I was gonna start building it. So I had stripped it down. Was in the middle of building it when I decided that I wanted to build a stock class car for King of the Hammers. But I did not want to use the TJ. It meant too much to me. I had had it for years, and I had built it through high school, and it just meant a lot to me, and I didn't want to take it out and trash it at King of the Hammers potentially. So I looked and I wanted an LJ, and as you know, LJs are expensive. They are even more expensive than the TJ, and they hold their value for some reason a whole lot more. So looked and looked and looked, finally found this one. It was totaled. It honestly didn't look that bad in pictures. When I got there, it was a lot worse than what I thought, but we took it. The price was right, so we took it. So what I ended up doing was cutting the TJ frame. So this front section right here is from the TJ. So as you see right here, we had to massage this. I kind of filled it in with weld to try to build it up so I can grind it down smooth. I am going to reinforce this. This is obviously going to be coming off. This was just put here as a as temporary reinforcement, just to hold it straight while I am grinding on it and before I plate the whole frame. So like I just said, we are going to be plating the frame from the center section of it. So we're going to be going from the rear coils all the way up to the front coil springs. So those are all going to be plated with 1/8 inch plate to reinforce it, and then we may do the bottom of it as well. I'm not sure, kind of like an angle iron. But today what we have is, I'll show you the part numbers real quick. All right, let's go through the parts. So these are the rear coil correction brackets from Artec for the TJ, obviously. These are the boat side body mounts from Artec. And these are the front coil mounts. And those are already cut for the TerraFlex bump stops. At the time that I bought these, the stock class was not allowed to run hydraulic bump stops. Well, since then there's been a rule change and stock class can run hydraulic bump stops. So we will be modifying these to take hydraulic bump stops. So today, these will be cut off and ground smooth so the new ones can go on. The body mounts will be cut off and new ones welded on. And also the rear coil buckets. And these, that angle, that's the reason that a lot of people do these correction brackets. That's what they're correcting, is this angle right here. So it's going to bring it more of a flat angle so that coil isn't at an angle anymore. And like I said, we're going to be plating the frame, reinforcing it, and if we have time, we're going to get rid of the suspension mounts because it's going to be triangulated. We're going triangulated in the front and the rear. Well, the rear is going to be truly triangulated. The front's going to be a combination. We're going to see what we can do with that. I'm really not wanting to run a panhard bar, so we're going to try our best to triangulate the front. So that's the goals. We're going to get at it.
All right, guys, first things first, we're going to start on the front coil mounts. We're going to kind of just start at the front of the chassis and work our way back. So I'm going to flip you around, show you what we're going to be doing. Got the plasma cutter all set up.
So first things first, we're going to come in here. We're going to cut this bracket off. We're just going to do a quick cut, kind of get all that extra material out of the way and see what we're working with. Don't want to cut into the frame, obviously. So we'll probably just come in here, cut right here, get it close, and then we'll go in and see what we need to do to get it closer. And then obviously we're gonna have to come back with like a flat disc and grind it down all smooth. All right, so we got it cut all the way around. I just kind of followed the frame, got it close. Plasma cutter made easy work of that. So now that the coil bucket is off, well, the top portion of it at least, we're gonna come in, we're gonna cut out this little gusset. We're gonna cut that out with the plasma cutter, probably cut this little piece out with the plasma cutter. I'm gonna get as much of that with the plasma cutter. Then I'm gonna have to come in here with the cutoff wheel and grind or cut out that weld. I just don't wanna get into the frame with the plasma cutter. So. So basically what we're doing is I'm just cutting right above the weld, trying to get pretty close to it, and then I just get in behind it in that little groove right there with a chisel, and I just hit it, bend it until it breaks off, and then I'll just go back over that stuff with the flap disc and get it all smooth with the frame, and hopefully that'll prevent cutting into the frame. Probably gonna happen a little bit, but that's all right. I can fill it in with a little bit of weld and then grind it down smooth, but just wanna prevent cutting all the way through it. So for those of you that don't know, when I'm referring to a flap disc, this is what I'm talking about. This is a 4.5 inch, just goes on your regular 4-inch grinder. This one's a 40 grit. I just get these at Lowe's or Home Depot. Really just a bunch of flaps of really aggressive sandpaper, and those work pretty good. These, I think, the two different one's for like, I think one polishes and one grinds or something like that. I don't know. It's supposed to make the grind look better or something. I don't know. But yeah, they work good. Up next, got the frame all ground down, nice and shiny. See the little spots that I was talking about right here. So we're gonna go in, fill those, weld it pretty hot so I know that it melts in there, and then I'm gonna grind those off. Next, we're gonna be tacking up the brackets, fitting them, making sure everything's good with that, and then we're gonna fully weld these brackets, and then we're gonna tack them on the frame. Just because with mocking up suspension, if we have to change anything, then I don't want to have to be cutting a second set of coil buckets off the frame. So we're just going to tack them on the frame for now, get them in place so we can mock up suspension, get that all figured out, and then after we know we're set, then we'll fully weld them in place. But we are going to be fully welding the brackets themselves. So Artec does a great job with their fitment. I have these all tacked up, but when you're welding these things up or something similar, you're always going to want to make sure that you have that 50-50 split, just like that. And they kind of give you those little tabs right there as an indicator. That's just going to allow you to set your weld right in that groove. It's going to come out looking really nice. Also, when you're welding something like this, you're not going to want to weld this whole thing. So you don't want to start here, weld, 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 all the way down here. If you do that, it's going to warp on you because you put all that heat in one spot. So whenever you weld a part or really anything, you want to move around. So maybe do a 2-inch, then go to the other side over here, do a 2-inch, then to come over here, do 2 inches. Move around, give it time to cool and dissipate that heat. If you don't, it's going to be all warped and it's just not going to turn out as well for you. So we have the coil bucket right here. It's all welded up. So we're going to be tacking that into place. And then I went ahead and kind of spray painted all the brackets with some red paint for a visual, just so you can see everything that's going to be coming off. So upper, lower control arms, all the body mounts, rear coil buckets, track bar. So all these are going to start coming off. I'm going to go ahead and start on that. So what we got done, other than it looking like a bomb went off and tools and metal and grinding dust everywhere. So this is all on the passenger side. So we have coil bucket and shock mount on the passenger side. So we got all that done. We got the original one cut off, this frame ground smooth, and all that welded up. That's in place. That is tacked in place. We might have to move it. So everything right now is going to be tacked. We're not hard welding anything until after final mock-up and everything's done. Once everything is good and everything's working, we cycle the suspension, then we'll go in and weld everything and make sure everything is buttoned up.